Welcome to Fierce Fit Feminine and Other F Words, a place where women in business come to learn more about health, beauty, body language, and communication. I'm Christine Brunelli, chiropractor and former beauty salon owner turned certified image consultant, helping you glow from the inside out so you show up powerfully as you engage with the world around you. And today we're going to talk about communication, and specifically in terms of using online social media profiles to communicate, not just LinkedIn, but social media that might be a little bit more playful and you shy away from because you feel like it's not professional. Oh my gosh, this is such a big topic. I have a lot to talk about when it comes to this because as women, we tend to feel like we have to maintain a certain professional image because we are held to a different standard than our male counterparts. Oh, this is a big topic. Are you ready? Let's dive in. You may or may not be aware that I'm a camera confidence and visibility coach for female entrepreneurs and professional women in leadership who want to look and feel fabulous on camera, authentic and true to who they are, so that they can connect with their audience and reach a potential new audience. And one of the biggest things I've learned in interviewing and meeting potential clients, their resistance to showing up on camera is it's just not professional. I feel like I'm a cheap strip mall version of what I really am. It feels like I'm, not the licensed professional that I'm supposed to be if I show up on a TikTok or on an Instagram reel. But these same women are scrolling TikTok and scrolling Instagram reels for entertainment. Am I talking to anybody here that does the same thing? I 100% get it because I used to be that. I was the same way. I was always a little bit withheld or reserved when it came to how much I would share online. Way back in the early days, we're talking 15 years ago, I didn't even put my photo online. I had a picture of my dog and a bumblebee and all different things. And then for video, forget about it. My first live video or any video was just 2 years ago. It's 2023. I didn't do anything on video prior to this because I felt like it wasn't professional. I mean, only people that teach how to do makeup go on video, and that's over on YouTube. I don't do that. Am I speaking to anyone here? By the way, some of the most incredible makeup artists are not just on YouTube. They're on TikTok, they're on Instagram, they're everywhere. And they're not a lesser person because they're not a licensed, let's say, white-collar professional. They're a licensed makeup artist or a licensed hairstylist or whatever they do. That does not put them in a category below licensed chiropractor like me, or licensed physician, or licensed real estate agent. We are all women here working in a field that we love. So I want to just start out right now by let's just level the playing field. And I'm not trying to say that your job as a physician saving someone's life is less pressure or less important than someone that helps someone put makeup on. But you as a person are not more important than someone who helps someone else learn how to feel beautiful, because that person that might need to learn how to feel more beautiful is maybe going into a position of leadership that's working in a company that's changing lives. We all play an important role. So I don't want to diminish that. Let's just in our mind level the playing field. In your mind, if you resist showing up on social media video because you feel like it cheapens, diminishes, or lessens your authenticity, that is a story you are telling yourself that you have to reframe, because there are ways to show up online in video authentic to who you are that won't diminish who you are. It will build your credibility with people who maybe want to learn from you. And I'm going to give you some examples. And getting ready for this show, I have to tell you, I got so deep in Google Scholar. Have you ever been on Google Scholar? It's not just Google, it's Google Scholar, where you get into research articles and studies and all kinds of information about gender bias when it comes to women being held to a different standard than men in the workplace. And one of the reasons a lot of us, female, struggle with this is that we worked hard for where we are. We want to be taken seriously, and there's not a lot of room for error. If you feel like you can't mess up because you won't get a promotion or you won't earn as much or all of these things, you're afraid it will hurt your credibility, you're not entirely wrong. That came from something that you might not consciously be aware of, but there is a lot of research out there, proof that there is more wiggle room and room for error in a male leadership position, a licensed male professional, than a female. They can get away with more and they still earn more. We are held to a different standard. I will give you some references, so if you ever care to look at any of that information, but that is where some of this comes from. Some of it comes from we just won't be taken serious, and we worked our tail off to get where we are. We want to be taken serious. So let me just give you a little background, not a lot, because that's not really as important as how do we move forward professionally and show up online, but I want to give you a foundation of what the truths are out there, because it should make you so mad that you want to show up and say, no, I'm not going to be in this conglomerate group of women who stay stuck at low levels of leadership because I refuse to advance forward because I'm afraid to make a mistake. You can advance forward and not fear any of that. All right, let's get into some of that foundational stuff first. Okay, starting backwards from the oldest study that I can reference as far as double standards go. 2007, Harvard Business Review. The name of the study is The Double-Bind Dilemma for Women in Leadership. It's a study from someone named Alice Eagley and Linda Carley out of Harvard, who found that female leaders are faced with a double bind, where they're expected to display both masculine and feminine traits on the job, but women who display masculine traits are often penalized for violating gender norms, but those who display feminine traits are seen as weak or ineffective. That creates this double standard for women to meet this expectation that's almost impossible, where men are only expected to show masculine traits. They're not expected to show both. They can get away with it. That was 2007. 2015, Pew Research Center. Women, Men, and Leadership is the name of the study. They present findings from a survey of the American public on gender and leadership. And one of the key findings is that both men and women are more likely to see women as being held to higher standards than men in leadership positions. For example, 43% of respondents said that women have to do more than men to prove themselves as leaders, compared to 9% who said men have to do more than women. So that's Pew Research. And then the most recent one, just to show you that this is still ongoing. This is not tackled yet. This is 2019. Out of the Journal of Business and Psychology. This is the one that got me into Google Scholar, and this was deep and it was a horrible read. So if you don't like reading a lot of percentages and numbers and research terms, I'm just going to give you the reference, but it's very boring. But it's called Gender and the Evaluation of Leaders, a Meta-Analysis. That should be the key, right? But I wanted to feel prepared for you when I want to share this information. What this looked at, though, what this 2019 study did was they looked at 99 studies on gender and leadership evaluation. They found that women are indeed held to higher standards than men. They're rated lower than men on a variety of leadership dimensions, even when their actual performance was the same or better. The author suggests that gender stereotypes and biases are a major factor in the findings, and it is an ongoing problem because the women were found to be more efficient leaders. Oh my gosh. Okay. That right there is enough to make us a little bit on guard or protective of what we do for a living, because we have to automatically, we have to show up more, but we have to have that perfect balance, that dance between masculine and feminine. We can't be too masculine. We can't be too feminine, and we can't make a mistake because we're going to be judged and thrown out with the bathwater, right? We have this out there, not even really consciously thinking about it. I believe it's just something in us. Unless you are raised in a culture maybe not the US, in a culture where it's a very strong matriarchal culture where women are powerful kind of thing, maybe you have a different understanding. But if you are in the USA, I know for a fact that it's definitely male dominated in leadership roles, in professional roles. And I even got into some research with real estate agents. It used to be that was predominantly male. Now in real estate, it's 50-50 just about in the USA. But one of the studies found that women, female real estate agents, have less listings, but they tend to be more efficient. They take listings that earn them more money. So they don't have to have the quantity of listings. They just get better quality listings. Why would women have to do that? Again, I'm still laying the foundation for why we need to show up on video and online in a way that feels real and authentic to you, that does not diminish your credibility. But these things, this foundation I'm laying, is trying to help you understand where some of our fears about showing up online come from. It comes from us feeling like we're diminishing our credibility. You, my girl, don't need to prove your credibility to anyone. You are good enough as you are. These female real estate agents were smart enough to get listings that are bigger listings with higher earning potential. You know why? Because she has kids at home. She has to make them breakfast, and she has to get them ready for school, and she has to get them to school, and she has to run them to practice, and she has to juggle work and figure out what's going to be on the table for dinner, and then get them ready to do their homework and get them ready for bed and answer her clients in the meantime while she's running that listing. All the while, what's the guy doing? I'm not saying there aren't men out there that don't play Mr. Mom, but they don't usually have the same roles in a family that the women do. I mean, we're getting better at that, but I would say that a lot of times, because we are better multitaskers, tell me if I'm wrong here, but have you ever said in your head, it's just easier if I do it myself? Yes, you have. I know you have, because I've been there. I know. Yeah, it's easier. Trying to delegate it and then not knowing what your child is eating for breakfast when you run out the door for a meeting because you're afraid they're going to just be thrown to the wolves on their own because, or God forbid, would they ever have a lunch packed with some nutritious food? Some dads are amazing. I'm not diminishing fathers, but I'm just saying it's easier to do it yourself, isn't it? But then your work suffers. And so the last thing we want to do is show up online and look ridiculous. And then what would our male counterparts say? Oh, this is just a big topic. So with everything I just explained, how do you show up in a professional way that feels authentic to you, feels professional to you, doesn't feel like you're in a strip mall version of your profession, whatever you do for a living, online? And that can be on TikTok, it can be on YouTube, it could be on Instagram Reels, it could be on Facebook Reels or Facebook Lives or lives anywhere. How do you do it? What are the steps? Knowing everything that you know that I just shared with you for the past 12 minutes or so. Okay, it's not as hard as you think. Let me just tell you, it's not. And the first thing I want you to know is that you do not have to dance. You do not have to be scantily clad. You don't have to be funny. I'm not funny. I am not a humorous person. You don't have to have green hair. You don't have to be any of this stuff that you might see other people doing. You have to be you. Now, why are we doing it? We're doing it to connect with people, to show your expertise, to educate. If you're a doctor, that's what that means. You're an educator. You're a teacher. That's the translation, right? You're a teacher. And you're not giving information that they can run with so that they don't go to their family physician, but you're educating on a topic, let's say, or an attorney. There are attorneys out there on YouTube that debrief cases, right? Different things that are high profile cases, like the Johnny Depp case was one where attorneys were on YouTube and TikTok doing different cases and doing different different debriefs. They are in different specialties, right? Attorneys in different categories or levels of whatever they serve in law. Could be family law, right? They take different scenarios and they teach on the scenario. They're not giving personalized recommendations. They're just displaying their expertise. They're not singing. They're not dancing. They're not twerking. They're not doing anything that looks ridiculous. They're professional. Real estate agents are showing up. A lot of them are talking and they're using something called green screen. If you don't know what that is, it's not that hard, but it is something where you see their face in like a small section of the screen and a picture of a house behind them or a static photo, and they're talking about that photo. Or it could be a listing, or they're actually speaking over like a voiceover on a video as they're giving a tour of a home. There's a girl in California, a real estate agent somewhere in California that does her listings, and she tries to find people properties with beach view under $1 million. So you know how hard that is if you're in California getting a water view for under $1 million. That's hard. So she's got a really popular TikTok account, and all she does is walk through these properties with her camera and displays them because she's trying to be a buyer's agent. So there's so many different things you can do. It won't only show and demonstrate your expertise, it will build trust with the audience and bring you new clientele. And that is how it builds your business. But the first thing I want you to know is you do not have to be an entertainer. That, I think, was my first thing is I'm not that entertaining. I'm not going to go do something ridiculous. I dance as a hobby. I teach dance. I love to dance. I don't dance on video for my social media. I don't know. There's something in me, my professional self, my licensed chiropractor, business owner, coach and consultant self. I don't see myself teaching someone how to chest bump or chest bumping on a video. It just doesn't mesh. But if it felt right to me, you better believe I would do it. I would, because I do it several days a week in dance classes and teaching people. It is part of my life, but I don't do it on video. And mostly because I'm not teaching dance in my online business. I'm not showing up online to teach dance. I'm teaching something else. So the number one thing is be authentic to who you are. Don't try to be someone else. Don't think that you have to create a persona. You don't. That's acting. That's not connecting with an audience. That's different. There are people that create characters and show up in character online. There's one girl on TikTok. She's actually hilarious, and I can't believe she's making as much money as she is, but she puts a tiara on her head, and she always starts her TikTok with chapstick, and she puts a red dot on her forehead, and she speaks with an Indian accent. I don't even know if she's Indian. She probably is, because she can't get away with, being called racist for doing it. I think she is Indian, but she doesn't wear a dot on her head normally. She does it for these videos, and she speaks in a funny accent that's not her real voice, and she makes these ridiculous comments about things, and she's always kind of dressed down and slovenly. Indian women are not that. They love beauty and fashion. Like, she's just a character. She's making money from that, right? That is not what you have to do as a licensed professional, a woman in business, or a woman in leadership, or an entrepreneur. You don't have to do that. In fact, I don't advise that you do that. If you are the face of your brand, meaning you are selling your service or you're selling something that you represent and is your business, be you. That's step one. Now, to get going, you've got to have a headshot. If you need help getting a headshot because you're not hiring a photographer, you need to go to the show notes of this episode and download my free guide that will teach you how to use your phone to take a professional headshot. It's a supercharge your selfie guide where I teach you how to do lighting and camera angles and all the things so that you don't need to go hire I think that a professional brand shoot is key, but if you don't have that in your scope right now, it's not on your radar, do it yourself. Grab my free guide. It's awesome. It'll show you do's and don'ts with lighting, do's and don'ts with all the things, and then how to get a good headshot, because that's part of your personal brand. Now we're going to start talking about what is your personal brand. You get that picture, you put it up, follow the rules that are in my headshot guide. Go grab that right now. You can tap that link while you're listening to the show notes. And then your personal brand should encompass characteristics of your personality. So if you could think of 3 traits that you would use to describe yourself, or your best friend would use to describe you in your career, like in your persona, like not just your work, but your everyday life, how would you be described? That's probably how you should show up on your videos. You need to think about that because it'll give you boundaries to say, I don't have to crack jokes. If I'm not normally a humorous, play joke kind of person, then I don't have to do that online because it's not me. So that when that camera goes on, you know exactly how to speak, how to engage, because you're just being yourself. But if you give yourself maybe 3 or 4 characteristics that and I'll throw some out there just to get your wheels spinning. Are you seen as knowledgeable? Are you sarcastic? Are you funny? Are you warm? Are you approachable? Professional, hospitable, think of all the adjectives, right? Find a few that describe you and try to link it to who you are in real life. Are you someone that likes to help people network? Maybe you're a connector. That's part of your personality. That should show through in everything you say and in the captions that you write. Or maybe you're more of a nurturer. You have a nurturing kind of personality. That will show through in the words you use and in the words you type in captions. All of that is part of your voice and your brand. And you need to know that before you hit record for the first time, because it will give you parameters to say, oh, I just live here. This is me. I want to keep it as simple as possible. Because a lot of times what happens is we freeze when we know we're being recorded, especially if it's live. We just sweat under the collar. We get hot. We're like, our heart is racing and we don't know what to say. And all I want you to do is think that we're just meeting at Starbucks for coffee. You're just telling me your things. You're just sharing, like you're sharing with a best friend. So that's step 3. Step 1, you're being authentic to who you are. Step 2, you're going to get a headshot. Step 3, you're going to find attributes or qualities and characteristics about yourself that are going to give you parameters of how to show up so that you know how to live when that camera is pointed your way. Step 4 is, what are you going to talk about? This is the thing that gets so many people stumped. And that's funny because I could talk about anything. Just give me a microphone and you're listening to my podcast. Like I can just rattle and rattle and rattle, but I'm also an extrovert and I have a lot to say. So maybe you feel like when you go on camera, you have no idea what to say. So this is what I would suggest you do. I want you to take some time and think, what does my audience struggle with most? Maybe you're a buyer's agent for real estate. What are they struggling with? What do they need help with? What do you wish they knew before they came to you? Bam. List out 5 to 10 things. There are 10 videos right there that you could create. Maybe you're a dentist. What are things you wish patients knew before they came to you? What are some things they could do on their own? Bam. 5 to 10 things. Maybe you are a woman who builds, maybe you're in HR, human resources, and you're really working on diversity and inclusion in the workplace. What are 5 to 10 things you wish people knew? And, it could have something to do with being hired and being let go. You could even get into that. It doesn't have to represent your personal company, but it could say this could possibly happen in your company if, right? And diversity inclusion is really buzzy right now. That's people want to know about that. It could be on anything. What does your audience want to know? And what do you want them to know? Now, it could be that you could do case studies. That really helps your expertise. If you have actual examples of your clients, even better, where you can say, hey, this client showed up and maybe you're in health and fitness and she had a scare. She had a heart attack. She's only 50 years old. She wanted to lose 75 pounds. That was her 1 year ago. This is her today. And you share her story. All you're doing is saying, here's where she was. This is what happened. This is where she is today. And these are the steps I took to help her. She did the work. I just helped get her there. And it displays your expertise. These are things you can talk about. So now that's your 4th thing. Get the topics that you're going to talk about. How long should your videos be? This is the kind of trend right now. This changes so much that don't lock me into it. But as of April 2023, anything 10 seconds or less is a short piece, like on a YouTube short, a TikTok, or an Instagram reel, it should be very short and catchy to get people to look at your profile. You're not educating. It's really hard to educate in 10 seconds. I mean, you can say some things in 10 seconds like floss your teeth, right? That's educational. Floss your teeth because you can do that in 10 seconds. But usually those are short little blurbs that are just there to get people to go, hey, who was that? Anything longer than that, let's say up to a minute, you can teach in 60 seconds. And you don't realize how long 60 seconds is until you're on video. It's a lot longer than you think. You can say a lot in 60 seconds. And then when you get beyond 60 seconds, those are the people that are usually already following you and like your stuff. Most people, and you probably included, aren't watching someone's video if it's over 30 seconds. Am I wrong? Right? So you have to really like them already and what they have to say for you to watch a lot of it. They have to have built their like, know, and trust factor with you. So that's how you're going to use video for your audience. The short pieces are short blurbs that are going to grab their attention. They have a hook somehow. Look at this house and this is how much they want for it. Oh my gosh, that kind of stuff. Oh, that must be a real estate agent. They go to your profile, see where you work or whatever. You use those short little blurbs for attention. The longer videos over 1 minute are educational videos for your established audience. And the ones that are up to 60 seconds long are usually something where you can display your expertise, where you can educate, you can edutain if you want to use some type of entertainment, if that works and feels authentic to you, to help the audience go, I like her personality. What I don't want you to do in all of this is be too stiff if you're not a stiff person. I want you to just let your shoulders go down like you're talking to your best friend, but you're really talking to the people that you work with every day or you want to work with. You already know who they are. You can describe them. So help them feel seen, heard, and understood in how you deliver your message, and they're going to love you. Finally, let's talk about going live. Going live will build your audience probably faster than anything. Going live is so scary if you've never done it. I remember the first time I went live, nobody came, and I'm really thankful now that nobody did because I think I talked like I had 5 Red Bulls. I was talking so fast because I was so nervous. But it doesn't have to be that way, but you'll probably be nervous the first time. And the cool thing is what you can do when you go live with any audience is tell them that you're nervous. This is my first live. You can say that. And people are so freaking supportive. You'd be shocked. All you have to say is, my gosh, I'm sweating so much. Like this is my first live. My heart is racing. Thank you for being here. Acknowledge the people that jump on. Have an outline next to you of what you want to talk about. They will be supportive. Let your live only be 3 minutes the first time you go live. 3 minutes. That's all it needs to be. You can say a lot in 3 minutes. Going live consistently will help build your audience, will help build like, know, and trust. They don't have to be there with you in the live because you can share that live video to your profile for later so they can see it later on. But if they're there during the live, this is when most of my clients have anxiety because they say, well, what if they ask a question that I can't answer? Like I'm so afraid I'll be distracted by all the comments in the comment section or whatever. You will be distracted. You will be, but you are also allowed to express yourself and say, I'm not going to look at the comments right now because I can't. I have ADD and I'll just read your comments instead of looking and talking to you. And I want to share. And then when I'm done, I'll take a look at the comments and ask and answer any of the questions you may have asked. That's a great way to overcome that. And then as far as the anxiety of feeling like, oh, I'm going to look like deer in the headlights, because that is something professional women struggle with on live video. They don't want to look inept. Remember, 20 minutes ago or so, we talked about how there is no room for error as a woman, right? We can't make mistakes because we have less wiggle room for error compared to our male counterparts in business. But here's the cool thing. If you acknowledge, this is my first time going live, or even if it's not your first time, if you've done it a couple times, but you know that you have a weakness with being distracted by comments, or you know that it's easy to get off track, so you need a paper with you, you can say it. People are so understanding. You can say it. That is what's so beautiful. That's your feminine energy. Your feminine energy is saying, hey, I'm a real human. I'm not a robot behind a camera. I'm not a paid actor. This is just me. And I am a little bit nervous, or I get sidetracked, or I need these notes. A lot of men won't do that. I don't know what that is. And I don't even want to go into why men won't do that. They don't have to do it. They can mess up and people will stick with them, right? But for women, the standards are different. And we're so afraid of looking inept or deer in the headlights of, I'm going to be on camera and I'm going to freeze and forget what I'm going to say. Bingo. Have your outline right there on paper and let your listeners know. And you know what? They will realize, wow, she's really cool. She's open to being vulnerable. I like her. People love vulnerability. Love it. Love it. Your feminine energy will help you win on that one. It's your masculine energy that's keeping you in fear. Your masculine energy is saying, I have to be perfect. I have to be perfect. And I know that you might think that's the feminine in you, but you know how we have to have that dance that I talked about earlier in this episode when I talked about you have to be both masculine and feminine in the workplace to be seen as whole and a force to be reckoned with. And you're, God forbid you're one too much or not enough in the other. Well, when it's you on a live video and you're afraid of making a mistake, that's because you're trying to compete with the masculine is really what I'm trying to say. Just be you. Just be you and be honest and be real and don't worry about all of that stuff. People love when you're honest and just, I've seen women that are in the they're in the $1 million. So that's a 7-figure business coaching space. I've taken their master classes. Honestly, I had a hard time following because they were just so unorganized. It drove me absolutely crazy, but they're still crushing it in their business. I mean, they prove it. On TikTok, a lot of people will say, here are the receipts. Here's my income for the month, because they're trying to prove that they're legitimate, because you can be scammed online. But in their masterclass, they're flighty as heck. And I sit there and go, oh, if she can do it, so can I. And that's where I want you to be. You don't have to be perfect. You just have to be real, be authentic. And then as you get better at it, you will start to get a rhythm, and that will be your brand and your voice. And then we can work on the next steps, which will be for another show at another time. All of this to say, this gender bias and this fear we have, all of the things that come into play with feeling confident showing up online, we need to overcome it. In the 2019 U.S. Census, only 15% of women were earning $100,000 or more. Now, I know that money is not the only measurement of success, but I want to see more women shatter that 100K mark on their own. By the way, the men in that same study, it was over double how many were earning over 6 figures. If you want to be a woman who wants to be financially independent, we need to get out of our comfort zone and start playing bigger game. And playing bigger game is overcoming all of the things that we believe are the way they are in the world, and maybe some of them are true, but we're going to overcome the mindset and the fear that go connected to that. We're going to show up online. We're going to be our true selves. We're going to tap into that authenticity, and people are going to resonate. You are going to attract an audience who loves you, likes you, knows you, trusts you, and eventually hires you. I hope this was helpful for you today. Don't forget to go to the show notes and grab that selfie guide. If you need a new headshot, supercharge your selfie. The link is right there. All right, next week we'll talk about the next steps. I'll see you there. Thank you so much for being here. I love, love, love all of you that listen to this show. If you would be so kind to go to Apple Podcasts and give the show a rating or a review, or wherever you listen to my show, it would be so helpful for me if you could give me a review so that I know I'm on point and I'm hitting the mark for content that you want to hear. And if you're not subscribed, hit that button, subscribe, so that you get notified next time a new episode is released. And until then, have a fierce, fit, feminine, and fabulous day.